In a lot of ways, interviewing for a leadership role is just like any other interview. Leadership is a competency, it's a skill, it's something you can speak about, extrapolate on, and you can convince people that you are ready for that type of role. But for people who have never taken on a leadership role before, or maybe they're not used to interviewing for leadership or management positions, it can be really intimidating. In today's video, I'm going to give you 5 things you must accomplish to effectively interview for a leadership role. Let's go. Now, one of the most powerful things you can do for any interview is bring forth measurables about how you have impacted teams you have been on positively, right? You want to quantify your impact. So maybe you're in a quality position. You've talked about how a continuous improvement effort saved your company a bunch of money, or how you reduce downtime, or whatever it is. The same can be said for leadership positions. If you can bring forth measurables about how you took over a department and then under your management, under your leadership, the department became more efficient, or there was less turnover and it was more cohesive as a unit, or maybe it was more productive. Whatever it is, if you can bring forth specific examples about how you have grown a team, how you have made a team more effective, or how you have optimized a team in the past, that is incredibly powerful. That's tip 1. The next thing you need to be able to do when you're interviewing for a leadership role is you need to be able to explain your leadership style. You're going to be asked questions like, "Hey Ben, tell me about your leadership style." And that needs to be strong. You need to be able to share with them exactly what the principles are, your methodologies, the way you do that. Maybe that's servant leadership. Maybe it's someone who is really big into motivating people. Whatever that is, be prepared to speak to the interview question, what is your leadership style? And any other question in which they might be digging at, what specifically do you do that makes you an effective leader? That is one of those questions where if they ask you, "Hey Ben, describe your leadership style," and you're not able to do it, it's going to come off as if you're someone who doesn't really have a cohesive style. You just kind of pick and pull everything together, and you're maybe not ready for that leadership position. So remember, it's one of the most important things you can do is to be able to vocalize, "Here's how I lead." One of the other things that I really love doing, and I think this makes for a really strong leadership interview, is talk about your continued learning and development as a leader. As the workforce changes, as roles become more dynamic, it is really important to continue to keep your sword sharp. So just like any other skill, you want to continue to get better as a leader. It would be like if a software developer hadn't learned any new technologies or any new languages in the last 10 years, but they're interviewing for a role. It wouldn't look good. Same with leadership. So you should come prepared to talk about how you're taking courses to become stronger as a leader, how you're reading books, how you're doing any sort of development that's going to help you continue to become a more effective leader. Leadership is hard. It is dynamic. It is challenging. It is ever changing. And as a result, it's a job that you want to make sure you're keeping up with. You want to make sure you're able to say to them, "Here's how I'm becoming more dynamic as a leader. Here's how I'm continuing to become better every day." So whether that's reading books, whether it's about attending courses, whether it's about just research development, going after feedback, and then using that feedback to become better for the people you're in charge of leading, have something ready. The next thing you're going to want to do is be able to talk about how you would lead the team you would be taking over, right? So if you're coming into a company and you're interviewing for a leadership position, you should have a plan. If they say to you, "Ben, we've got a team of 10 people, they're all relatively new, what would be your plan for leading them?" And you have nothing, that is not going to inspire a lot of confidence. So it's really important to have a plan. So maybe you want to do research on the industry. Maybe you want to get an idea of how large the team is or what their tenure is. You can do this by looking them up on LinkedIn and seeing who works for the department. It's not overly complicated to do that. Or maybe you just want to have a general game plan that works for the average department for the type of role you're interviewing for, right? So if I'm taking over a recruiting department in a company, I need to be able to speak to techniques and skills that are prominent and important, and how I would teach those to the people I'm taking over, how I would measure them, how I would motivate them, whatever it is. Just be ready to talk about what you would do if you got the role from a leadership perspective. They're going to expect you to have ideas there, and that, to me, is very reasonable. So have some. The final thing here is I would practice answering a variety of leadership questions. You are going to get a ton. If you go to my playlist, Interview Questions and Answers, you'll find, I think right now I've got like 31 different interview questions, and you can watch that, and I literally teach you how to answer every single one of those questions. There's a handful of leadership ones. Now I'm going to be making a new playlist strictly around leadership. So whether it's answering specific questions from an interview perspective or more interview guides like this, I am going to be making a full playlist. But in the meantime, you can go and find a bunch of questions there. But questions you know you might get as a leader. Like, Ben, tell me about your leadership style. What would you do if you were in charge of leading this department? Can you tell me about a time where you had a low performing employee? As their leader, what were you able to do to turn around their behavior and make them more effective in the role? Ben, have you had to put people on performance improvement plan? What was your strategy there? Whatever it is, you know that there's a variety of questions you might get as a leader. Be ready, be prepared, have answers ready, and be ready to talk through exactly what you would be willing to do or what you are capable of from a leadership perspective. You know some of these questions are coming, be ready to answer them. There they are, that's the video. If you are new here and you have not subscribed to the channel, we are like 6 minutes in. And if you were still watching, that is the universe telling you, hey, you should subscribe to this guy. If you were not new, welcome back. And if you're taking your first step into leadership as a subscriber, look at you. Go get it. Thanks for watching. Good luck in your next interview. You got this.